says Sticky Biddle has started. Oh, here we come. Yes.
Yeah. I can see
Okay.
the
Yeah.
So I'm now sharing my my view of Galaxy, and that's what we're going to work on.
Great. Okay. Very good. Thanks.
Can you guys see my mouse on that screen?
Yes, can. Yeah.
Just below rankings.
Yes.
So I can use that as a pointer. I can actually also annotate.
My camera's fallen off, but you don't need it. You just got to share it rather than me, but that's fine.
Highlight. Okay. No, I want spotlight. No, I want. Okay, so as long as you can see my mouse, that's the important thing. Right. So we're in the lobby of Backgammon Galaxy. The first thing we're going to talk about, because it was certainly something that Nigel raised, and I guess if you want to stop me as we go along, if you have a question related to what I'm talking about, you can stop me and ask me. And
okay.
Okay. So to look at your ranking, you go to Account and you view your profile. And you'll see at the top, I have a ranking of 2039. Mm-hmm. In the past, Nigel, I think you asked me what my experience points and where you can see your experience points. And the way I was able to see that you'd played over 1,000, you've played far more on Backgammon Galaxy than I have, is you can look at my experience there, and I've got 608 experience points.
Yes, yeah.
And an experience point equates to a point for every match point that you play for. So a 5-point match would be 5 experience points.
Well, if it scores 5-3, does that mean it's 8?
Say again?
If the score was 5-3, does it mean it's 8?
No. It would just be a 5-point experience match. If you were to play a 5-point match followed by a 3-point match, that would be 8 experience points accumulated.
Gotcha. Okay, right. Yeah.
Okay. So you can also see what your peak rating is. That's also an interesting figure to look at.
Right.
Because you can see where you peak. Now you can see I'm somewhere close to my peak, but seeing as I lost the last match I played, that's why my figure has gone down. And you can also see your win-loss ratio, which is again a very useful measure for how you're doing. Coin balance, I guess, is when they start to monetize this site. Don't forget that this is a beta version, so it's still a lot of work still to be done on it. And there's some frustrating things that aren't on it, like the search function if you're looking for another player.
Yeah.
And it does strangely seem to show that all players are offline. So you'll see just above my head there, the avatar I'm showing as offline, but evidently I'm online because I'm here showing you my screen.
Yeah.
Coming back to the rating, how the rating system works. The rating system is based on the ELO rating. It's actually not an acronym. It should be pronounced an ELO rating. If you Google the ELO rating, I can tell you all about it. It was something that was used traditionally in chess and has been used throughout backgammon. However, the Galaxy rating differs from the ELO rating in this way. In the ELO rating, if you win your match, your rating will go up. However, within the Galaxy rule system, your ELO rating your Galaxy rating only goes up if you win and you play better than your opponent. If you win but don't play better than your opponent, and this is according to XG, which is the engine running behind Galaxy, your rating will not go up, it will stay the same, which is why sometimes you might have thought, well, hang on, I've won this match, Nigel, but my rating didn't change. It's because you haven't played better than your opponent.
Right.
Likewise, your rating will go down if you lose and play worse than your opponent. But if you lose and play better than your opponent, your rating will stay the same. Now, I don't necessarily approve of all of this, because if I was there looking to try and push my rating up, I would just play people who I knew I could play better than, and then it doesn't matter whether I win or lose. I'm in an almost win-win situation. So it creates this false environment, which is why when I look to the left of my screen at the top ranked player, he's got a rating of 2,900. Well, you'd never get that in a normal ELO rating. In a normal ELO rating system, you'd get something around the 2,000 mark, 2,100, but certainly nothing up to approaching 3,000. So it's ridiculous. By the way, all the ELO ratings start at 1,500.
Right.
So if you're not at 1,500, Nigel, you want to get back to 1,500.
I started there and dropped off radically to 1,100. I've been building my way back up until this morning, when I dropped back about 60 odd points with 4 consecutive defeats.
Well, the trick is to find players who've got a weaker rating than you, because the chances are you're going to be a stronger player than them. But you're not going to, if you're finding players who have got a higher rating than you, your chances of pushing your rating up are going to be much slimmer.
Ah, because last week I've been looking for people who've been about 100 higher than me, thinking that I would, if I could beat them, and I have been doing up until this morning, because my rating went up by about 200 plus over last week, because I was searching out people for up to 100, maybe, up to 100 higher than me, and it worked until today.
Well,
anyway.
Well, you might beat them, but chances are you're probably not playing better than them.
Yeah, yes.
And therefore, even if you win, you gain nothing. So
yes,
it creates this false environment where people are looking for fish to feed off, rather than actually, I mean, in a normal ELO rating system, I would look for players up to 100 above me that I've got a realistic chance of beating, and if I do beat them, I'd go up above them, regardless of how I play. So this is just unique to Galaxy. It's not something I necessarily approve of, but it's the way it is on here.
How about the luck factor then? Where does that fit in?
Plays no part in your rating.
Oh, it doesn't? Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. And I will bang on about this once again. If you want to be a top backgammon player, ignore the luck figure. It's just something for weak players to make themselves feel good about themselves. Actually, let it go. Forget about it. Focus on, there's plenty more other things for you to focus on than the actual figure on the luck.
What does the luck figure indicate?
I'll come on to that. I'll come on to what the luck figure indicates when I explain everything else. But I just can't stress this enough. If you want to be a good backgammon player, forget everything there is about luck.
Okay.
Yes, there is luck involved in the game, but not if you want to be a top player. Okay, so any questions on your profile that you'd be able to see there?
No, that's helpful, thank you.
Yeah, okay, so.
Oh, sorry, there's one, followers and following. Does that mean you can click onto, say you're following?
I'll come on to that. It's not really important. So I've got all these people following me.
Yeah.
I don't know what they get from following. I follow 3 people. I think these were people I was trying to arrange a match with or something.
Yeah, Caroline.
But it's not really helpful. And of course, if I try and do the search feature, so let's say I write Caroline in there, it won't find them. It's under construction. So I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Okay.
So you've obviously you've got the play lobby. So if I was just going in and playing, it's all there. I've got your analysis lobby, and this is where it lists every single game you've ever played.
Yeah.
Now, here on my screen, I've got 8 pages of matches that I've played, because I've played 608 points worth of matches. But by the way, just quickly, because I'm on the free version of Zoom, I've only got 40 minutes. If we overrun that 40 minutes, I will re-invite you guys into a new meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Carry on where we were before. So along here, you see player 1. You see what and you'll always be player 1. You'll see what your rating was at the end of the match. So you'll see my last match, because I lost with an error rate of 9. as opposed to my opponent, who played with an error rate of 1.19, which is about as good as you can get. But he's the top player in the UK, even though he's got a Spanish flag. I played worse than my opponent, and I lost, so my rating dropped. You'll see there.
Yeah.
Whereas the previous game I had with him, I won that 7-5, but I didn't play as well as him, specifically for a specific reason that I actually misclicked when I was playing. So if I had played better than him, my rating would have gone up from the 2044, but it didn't. It stayed the same.
Right.
So that's what these figures mean. You've got your rating figure, you've got the error rate of your match, which I'll come on to explain at the moment, in a moment. And there are two ways of looking at a match. Now, you can download the match, and if you had a full-fat version of XG or GNU or something, you could download the matches, which is what I do, and run it through superior software to analyze the match. But neither of you, as far as I know, have XG or GNU.
Yeah.
Do you, Neil?
No, I don't.
No. Okay, you don't need it because you've got actually everything that you need here. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go and look at a match. I'm not going to look at these matches. I'm going to go to the a match that I played with you early on in our Galaxy career, Nigel. As far as I know, we played 2 matches together.
Yeah.
One stands out in my mind.
One certainly stands out in my mind too.
I thrashed you 3-0.
Yeah.
And we go on here to review the match. So the match is here. Now, if I click on this little graph here, that gives me the match stats, and we're going to go through that now.
So where did the graph come from?
Okay, just on the right, to the right of the backgammon board.
Oh, it's covered by the TV screens at the moment. Okay.
The TV screens.
Yeah, I've got
the little screens on the side.
Oh, you right? Okay, I'm double screening it. You can move those heads around, those talking heads around. I'm also gonna. I thought yesterday I'd found.
Oh yeah, I've seen the graph thing. Yeah, got you.
I thought I'd found something, a pointer, but no. Okay. More. Okay. So, looking at these figures. So right at the top, we can see that Chelsea Muffin beats NigelThomas 3-0. And I think that was in one of our first early Backgammon online tournaments. And you can see that Nigel played with a error rate of 20. So Galaxy rates Nigel's play as the play of a rookie. But Chelsea Muffin, who played with an error rate of 23.9, played like a beginner. Now, the higher your error rate, the worse the player you are. The lower your error rate, the better. So if you remember when we were looking at one of the last matches I played, my opponent, Wilco, played with an error rate of 1.19. That was pretty much as good as you can get. That was a near perfect game. How do we arrive at those figures? Well, the figures of 20 and 23 are based on a formula which I'm not going to recite, but it takes all the information regarding your errors and blunders, both with the checkers and the cubes, and the accumulation of those figures is the total equity loss. So the total equity I lost, and I'm going to define equity in a second, is 1.96, whereas the total equity that Nigel lost was 1.36. Can you all see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do I mean by equity? And actually, before I define equity, I'll just say that that total equity loss figure has a multiplication done to it. I can't remember what it is, but that's how you arrive at your error rate, or your PR, it's sometimes called, performance rating. So Nigel's performance rating here is 20, mine is 23.9, or error rate 20, 23.9. So my total equity loss, what do I mean by equity? So at the start of each game, what do you think your equity is for each player
Well,
at the start of any game?
50-50.
50-50, correct. So your equity at the start of the game, if Nigel, if you and I are playing and there's no points on the board or anything, our beginning equity would be in the game, not the match, but in the game, because there's a difference between match equity and game equity. But here I'm talking about game equity, was 0.5. So I would start with a game equity of 0.5, and Nigel would start with a game equity of 0.5. And that equates to a point. Now, in this scenario, in this example, the errors and blunders that I made, I gave away 1.96 points of equity to Nigel by making those mistakes. But instead of making the best move, and you'll see this in action, I gave away almost 2 points to Nigel by making mistakes. And Nigel almost gave me 1.36 points in our 3-point match. Okay, just quickly looking at the cube errors and checker blunders, sorry, the checker errors, checker blunders, cube errors and cube blunders. If we look at the top line, Nigel made 7 checker errors, giving away 0.031 of a point in equity, to my 6 checker errors, where I gave away 0.31 of a point. Now, what's the difference between an error and a blunder? An error is a move where you give away you don't need to worry too much about this, Nigel, the actual figures.
Right.
Suffice to say, oh, they've removed my 40-minute time limit. Excellent. Suffice to say that, in fact, I'm not even going to go into the actual figures. An error is an error. A blunder is a big error.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, to begin with, if I was you, I wouldn't worry about the errors so much. Focus on your blunders. When you're reviewing a match, go back and focus on the blunders. You'll have enough material there, trust me.
Thank you.
I mean, just in this match alone, I mean, Nigel's only made 4 blunders, but I've made 7 blunders. So if I was to go back and review this match, I'd want to look at, right, I made 7 big mistakes there. I want to make sure I don't make them again. So Nigel played perfectly with the cube in this game, probably because he didn't have any decisions to make, because I was the luckier player. Just quickly, not that we're going to get too wrapped up in it, the luck figure at the bottom indicates that my dice gave me almost a point's worth of luck in this 3-point match. And Nigel's dice gave him almost half a point in this match towards the 3 points. Does that answer your question, how luck is measured?
Yeah, I mean, I played one guy, got 11 the other day, so in fact he had 11 points in a 7-point match or equivalent.
Well, okay, so that's pretty much off the scale, but you know, you've got to let it go. Let it go and move on.
Yeah.
So we're now going to look at the individual errors and blunders that go towards making those figures that we're seeing here. You know, for instance, my checker blunders, I give almost 1.5 points to Nigel by making those blunders, and that's a lot. That's almost he's halfway to winning 3 points just because of what I've done with that play. So you could almost say that Nigel won this game, not so much that he played well, it's because I played badly. And to come back to define that, define what I mean by equity per move, we'll now look at that. So we're now in the game mode, and you'll see here we've got at the top we've got our Galaxy ratings at the time the match was played. So at the time the match was played, my rating was about 17, and Nigel was about 11. Now, even if I won this game, which I did, my rating did not improve after this game because I didn't play better than him. Remember, I played with a higher PR, a bigger PR number, which means I played worse than him. Right, so if you look at this drop down, we played 2 games in this match, and to go to the second game, you just click on that, and now we're on the second game. Go to the first game, we're on that. So we're going to scroll down here, and this is each game move by move. So just on the first move, we click on that. To click at the detail, we can see that Nigel rolled a 5-3, and he played the usual standard play, and it 8-3, 6-3. So it's from the 8 to the 3 and the 6 to the 3. So that's how the notation works. Likewise, when I make my move, so let's go back to the log and look at my 8-4. So Nigel's played his 5-3. The numbering changes, the notation changes, and I'm playing 8-4 to 6-4.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's how the notation works. So you can step through move by move like this, watching the game go through. But if you want to look at the detail, which we'll come on to now, so let's come along to the first blunder of the game, which is move 8 in the game. And I've rolled a 6-5. And I've played 8-2 to 6-1. So I've spread all these checkers around. You'll see at the bottom on the left-hand side with the big red dot. Can you see that at the bottom of the screen?
Yeah.
8-2 to 6-1. And then you'll see a figure next to it where it says I've got -340.
Yeah.
So by making that move and not making the best move, which is described as being 9-3-8-3, I've given away 0.340 of equity. So I've given away 1/3 of a point in equity, in game equity. So let's look at the detail of that. And here, this is all specifically just about this move. You'll see that the best move is 9-3-8-3. So I should have made my 3 points and left you the block there. Can you see, and you'll see this figure next to it, it says -0.196. What does that mean? That means that after making this move, and if you remember at the start of the game, my equity was 0.5, and Nigel's equity was 0.5. But after this play and 8 moves into the game, you'll see that because I'm behind, I've got these checkers stuck up here on this 2 point. Nigel's well advanced, he's got a strong board. My equity has now reduced not to 0.5, but -0.196, which means that Nigel's equity, the balance would be 1, so it would be 1 minus 1.96, so it would be 8.04, 0.804.
Yeah.
Because the equity, unless the cube's been turned or their gammon's on, the equity would be equal to 1. This isn't an ideal way for beginners to try and get their head around it. So what I would advise you to do, instead of focusing on these figures, I'm just explaining you to begin with. So you can see the move that I made, actually, yeah, it is on here, it's 0.340 worse than that. So actually after this play, my equity would be 0.536, minus 0.536. And here they have the second best move. But don't get too wrapped up with that. What's far more helpful to you, certainly to begin with, and certainly what I would look at, is if you look at the best move, 9-3-8-3, and look at these winning chances. This relates to game winning chances. So after the best move, my game winning chances down here are 46.1. Can everybody see that at the bottom?
Yeah.
46.1, of which 10% of the time, or 9.9% of the time, I win gammons, and 0.3% of the time I win backgammons. So with this move, I've got a 46.1% win rate. Nigel's still favourite at 53.9. However, if I look at my play, so I click on my play, see how my winning chances are reduced down to 38.
Yes.
Yeah.
So far easier for you at your stage of development to look at the winning chances and look at how different moves change the winning chances.
Yeah.
So you can see the best move gives me 46% chances with 9.99% gammons. The second best move gives me 41% chances with 8.6% gammons. And my move, a real shocker, only gives me 38% and 8% gammons.
There's a lot of information in this, isn't there?
Yeah.
This is going to be far more helpful to you, this section down here to begin with, than this equity. Really, the equity sections to see how big an error you made. If you want to make a note of this, that a move where you give away 0.020 of a equity from the best move is considered an error.
Right.
Anything less than 0.020 is considered a decent enough error, area margin of error.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah. This hits the nail on the head of where Nigel's game is at the moment. Is I would have done the move that you did, very fearful that if I exposed the 9 as a blocked, that the person sod's law would get it. And even though it's only a 1 in 3 chance or thereabouts, and I do trust the workings behind it, but I never know when to sort of do what this is saying I should do, as opposed to doing what you did. I would have done the same, and I just don't know how one works that out. I don't know. Is a sort of something you can learn, or it's just experience that determines how you're
learning and asking yourself why might it be right.
Yeah.
In this instance, I'm 47 pips behind in the race.
Yes.
Okay, you're both aware of what pips are.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to win this match by racing. I'm going to win this match by getting a shot and hitting it.
Yeah.
In order to get a shot, I might have to leave you a piece of cheese.
Yes.
And that's why this move is correct. So,
right.
And I don't want to get into giving a backgammon lesson. There is an adage: when ahead, race, as you are doing in this position, but when behind, leave a piece of cheese. You know, you want contact. You want contact. So that's how these figures stack up. Again, click on there. You can see the total scenario for the game, but at an individual move level, you can look at this area here. And I think really the winning chances is going to be where you're going to get most of the information. So what you should be doing as you go through the game is looking at all your red spots. And
sorry, can I ask probably an obvious question? If there is no spot, yellow or red, against your move, you presumably made the best move.
You made either the best move or the move that was within a small enough margin of error that it's not deemed as an error. Right. So it's below that 0.020.
I mean, if you
threshold.
click on any move, does it show the alternatives?
Yes, so let's click on the Nigel 6.5 previous to that.
Yeah.
where he has quite sensibly played from the 13 down to the 2.
Yeah.
If we look at the detail there, there were really only 2 options there, and Nigel picked the right one.
Yeah.
Yay, Nigel. But sometimes you might find a move, you know, 2 or 3 moves that will actually probably, if we look at towards the end of the game, let's have a look at maybe something like that. Well, there was only one possible move there. Hang on. 61. Yeah, so if you look at this position here, Nigel made the best move, but if he played 7-1-2-1, even though it's not the best move, it's not deemed an error because it's below 0.020.
Yeah.
Just quickly, the threshold, so something becomes an error at 0.020. It becomes a blunder at 0.080. Okay, so if we go back and have a look at my rubbish move in the first game, the detail. Now my move was 0.340, so it was a quadruple, more than a quadruple blunder. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. Even if I'd made the second best play there, that would have been a double blunder. That's, you know, that's 2 times 0.080. So when you're going through your matches, certainly to begin with, and it's certainly what I would do, is I just look at the reds. And obviously you're looking at the reds, the red dots, the red circles for your color. So here I'd be focusing on blues, reds. So I'd focus on that one. I'd focus on the 4-3,
Okay.
and so on. Now, Nigel, coming back to what you were saying about, well, sometimes you just don't understand. So what should you be doing with these red dots? We'll go have a look at this 4-3 now, where I came in on 21 and played up and made that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I do that now, you can see I came in and
Yes.
made that point, which you think was sensible enough.
Yeah.
But I'm still 55 pips behind. And by coming up, I'm giving you the opportunity to play behind me and actually get this guy out of the way.
Yes.
I've got to stay in the long term, which is why I'm sure it's telling me. We look at the detail. Hang on, whoops. Whoops. Right, red. If we look at the detail, it's telling me that I come in on the 21, but I absolutely have to keep this here, so I'm in the game to the end.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, what information can you look at to help you? Well, absolutely look at your winning chances and see how it affects your winning chances. So, by playing the play that it's suggesting, I'm still not favourite to win this. I'm only 44% favourite to win this. And my gammon chances are 21. Chances of losing a gammon are 21%. Let's have a look at what happens if I do the move that I did. Suddenly my gammon chances, is that move I did? Yes, it is. My gammon chances go up to 30%. Right? Why do you think that is? And I get the easiest way to do that. So my winning chances go down, but my gammon losing chances go up from 21% to 29%. So these are the gammons that Nigel can win. If we go back, I'm just going to do that so you can see the move I made. So coming up like that. Why do you think, even if I'm making a forward anchor, do you think that I might lose more gammons this way?
Because you've got very little chance of taking Nigel off. Well, on the existing board, because he's got men stacked up.
Well, the key thing is Nigel suddenly's got all this weaponry to attack this point. Now he can either make a point and put me on the bar, or he can even hit me loose. It'd be right for him to hit me loose because I've got blots here, here, and he can just clean up and sweep up.
Yeah.
Whereas if I was to make, whoops, let's go back to the log. The right move, and if we go to detail, which is bar 21 and 8-5, I'm tidying this guy up, which is more important than making this point, because now all of a sudden this blot is safe. Yes, Nigel will still hit me loose up here, but I haven't got lots and lots of blots. I've only got 2 blots around the board rather than 3. And with the ace point made, so there's lots of questions you can be asking yourself, and you've really got to immerse yourself in a position and try and figure out and look at all the clues that there is in this information down the winning chances box.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And you know, I've certainly early on in my backgammon learning career, I'd spend all morning looking at a position like this, trying to figure it out. And I might get a board out and just start rolling and playing and see what happens in this position. I mean, now I do the same thing, but I do it using the software. But just to get a feel for what happens, the movement of the checkers. Then if you get really, really stuck, what I would suggest you do is when we're, you know, back in post-COVID dry land again, print this out and bring it along to your next backgammon club night and sit down with one of the more experienced players. And you know, most players love to show off how clever they are and say, explain this position to me. You know, so whether you're Neil, you're going to Tame, or Nigel, you're coming to Backgammon or Amersham, grab, you know, any of us top players, obviously as long as we're not in the middle of another match, but while we're sitting around, and you may not even need to get one of the top players, just get one of the average players, and and set the position up on a board and get a discussion going, and that's where you learn so much about the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it all comes down to the more effort you put in, the more you will get out. What you mustn't do is where you've got a position and you just don't understand what it's right and say, well, I don't agree with it, or I don't understand, I can't be bothered. It's putting yourself through that learning process that will make you a better player. And there's a lot of experience that comes with it. So 99.999% of the time, even though I've made a blunder, I can look at it and I can see, well, of course, this is why I got it wrong. And actually, in time, most of the blunders you make tend to come from aspects of your game that you already knew you were just lazy or not quite focused on doing. That's pretty much it, but we'll look at the cube, because I saw I made a cube error. Or no, Nigel made a cube error. Let me just see whether we've got any cube blunders. No, so we've got a cube error. I've got a cube error from me and a cube blunder from me, and then a cube blunder from me and a cube error. So this will be interesting to look at. So this is move 24 in the first game. First of all, it's telling me I made an error with the cube, a blunder with the cube, because it's red. Blunder is bad, and yellow is an error. So I made not only a bad choice with the cube, but a bad choice when moving my checkers. Let's look at the cube first. And the way to do that, again, you look at the detail. I mean, what it's telling me here anyway, you can see, because I didn't double, is I should have doubled.
Yeah.
Before I rolled my 6-2. But let's go to the detail, and we click on cube. So that's the position before I roll the dice. And it's telling me here I should have cubed. And if we go back to basics here, which I obviously wasn't following at the time because I was so nervous about losing to Nigel, is that position, race, and threat. And yes, even though Nigel has got 4 points made in his home board, he's got a lot of wastage here, and he's got very few working checkers for him. He's got 10 checkers behind my last 2 checkers, so they're doing nothing for him. He's only got 5 working checkers, of which one of them is on the bar. And so position, race, and threat. I've got position because I've got this broken 5-point prime. Yes, I've got 2 blots, but I'm threatening to make one of those blots. So if I roll a 5 or a 6, I can make that point. If I roll a 2, I can make that point. If I roll a 7 or an 8, I can make that point. If I roll double, no, double fours doesn't work. But anyway, I can make that point a lot of the time. So I've got position, I've got threat, I haven't got race. But generally, if you have 2 out of 3 of those, position, race, and threat, and if you need a reminder of that, on my results emails that I send out, there is an article, Think Like a Pratt. You can also Google that, Think Like a Pratt. It goes through this position, race, and threat thinking. It's very, very basic, but it's such an effective way of knowing when to double and when not to double. Yes, there will always be exceptions to the rule, but certainly in early days, before you've got the experience to help you make those cube decisions, use that as a baseline to helping you arrive at a decision. So if I'd just gone back to basics this with position, race, and threat, I would have known to double this. But let's look at what the actual figures state. Now, it doesn't matter where I click on here. It's unlike the moves, you're not given the options. So the winning chances here, it tells me I win 70% of the time, of which 11% are gammons. And as we all know, in backgammon, if you're going to win 2/3 of the time or more, invariably it's right to double. So this is why, just looking at the maths of it, I should have doubled, because I win 70% of the time.
So that percentage, is that winning against your whole match, or just your winning chances at that particular moment in time?
With this software, it's telling you your game winning chances, not your match winning chances. In fact, nowhere on Galaxy does it tell you what your game winning match winning chances are. Much to my dismay.
This is a point in time percentage.
Say again?
It is a point in time percentage.
It's a point in time of winning your game winning chances. Now, I can tell you, I could extrapolate on that, and I could tell you just from this position what my game winning chances are. And it would just using the figures roughly, let's say I'm 70% favourite to win this, and Nigel's 30%.
Oh yeah, all right, so yeah, thanks, John.
You got that?
Sorry, my neighbour came in and
okay.
I was interrupted. I couldn't hear you.
So I mean, I could extrapolate that to work out my match winning chances, but we won't do that here, because that's certainly further down the line in your development.
Yeah, sure.
So there's some more information to help you evaluate why you should have doubled, and you think, well, okay, well, I'll try and remember that in positions like this, I'm going to win 70% of the time. Yeah. Just briefly on the figures above, if I doubled and I pass, and Nigel passed this position, and Nigel, just quickly off the top of the head, if I had doubled you here, do you think you would have passed or taken? As white, you're white and I'm
yeah, I think I would have passed.
You would have passed. So had I doubled Nigel here, I would have won 1 point, and that's represented by that +1 here.
Yeah.
I didn't double. So by not doubling, I'm only giving myself, from this position, after this move, 0.774%, sorry, 0.774 of a point. So instead of getting the whole point, I could have got by doubling and getting Nigel to pass. I've only allowed to give myself 0.774 of a point. Obviously, until that final point is awarded, that equity is a moving feast. Equity figures a moving feast with each move. The correct cube action in this position is actually a double take. Nigel, if I double this, should have taken.
Oh, right. Ah, yeah.
Because if you'd taken this,
yeah,
instead of me having the whole point, then if you passed, I'm actually only getting 0.885 of a point in equity. So by dropping this, you would have been awarded me 0.115 equity. It would have been an error of 0.115 equity, which, as we all know, is more than 0.080, which means it would be a blunder. But I never gave you that opportunity to make that mistake because I got it wrong and I didn't double.
Yeah.
So that's how the cube situation works. Well, if you remember, on this line of the match log, not only did I make a cube mistake, I also made a checker mistake, a checker error. And we'll quickly look at that. I played, what did I play? Okay, I was too loose with this. So that if you look at the top two plays, both of them, and this is another good way of seeing what you've done wrong. So let's say you've made the third best play. Is look at what the top two moves and what's the common theme. And the common theme there is tidy up. Put safety that checker, 3-1. I didn't. I played 9-3, still leaving that checker loose. And by doing that, I gave away 0.047 equity over the best move that would have left me at 0.86.
And you left that open because you deemed it wasn't worth covering it. So, you know, right.
Yeah, I'm quite a pure player. I don't like to make my ace points. I should do more often than I do. And again, you can look at how this affects the winning chances. So instead of giving myself 71.6% winning chances, I gave my, well, I pushed up my winning chances, but what's the big difference then between the best play and my play? Can anybody say again?
The gammon.
The gammons that you could win.
Yeah. So
I'm taking a big risk there for no reward. So that's why so that's a really helpful way of finding out. Look at what the top two moves are telling you to do. So that was how we got that error. And then if we just go back to the log and look at this final play, and this happens so much. So in move 24, when I should have doubled, I didn't. And then of course, next time, I think, oh, well, I'll double now. But what's it telling me? I was too good. If you look at the bottom, it tells you too good. Now, if we go to this position, and what does being too good to double mean?
That means you've got a better chance of getting a better score in the game by not doubling, by just playing the game out. You've
got a chance of winning the gammon. And let's look at how that's reflected in the equity scores on this table, the cube decision table. So if I doubled, and well, I did double and Nigel dropped, I only won 1 point.
Yes.
If I didn't double, so no double here, I'm pushing my chances up of winning more than a point. In fact, by not doubling, I've awarded myself 0.049% equity because I'm that bit closer to winning 2 points that I'd win by not doubling, by winning the gammon. And if I doubled, and for some crazy reason Nigel had taken here, that pushes up my equity to 1.772 points.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden we're playing for 2 points because the cube is on 2. So when the cube is on 2, that obviously that pushes up the total equity that can be won or lost to 2 rather than 1. That's how the equity things. But again, don't get too wrapped up with the equity. Keep it simple. Look at your winning chances table at the bottom here. And that's pretty much it in terms of the information that's available to you. We've talked about the ranking, how that can go up or down. Don't forget about the ranking for the minute, Nigel, because you should be using Galaxy in order to improve your game. And in order to improve your game, sometimes you've just got to lose. You know, that's part of the learning process.
I think you've seen on the Wednesday evenings, so I've gone from being beaten 4 times out of 4 for the first few weeks to actually winning almost 50% now.
Yeah, and you will, but that's not to say you won't have a night where you'll lose all 4. I'll have nights where I lose all 4 matches. I'll have other nights where I win all 4. I mean, that's just the nature of the game. Because you know, if I'm going to sit down and play with you, Nigel, I will lose 30-35% of the time.
Yeah,
it's just the way the game. So don't get too wrapped up with your ratings and whatever. And actually, it's not a bad thing for you to try and find people better than you, even though they will view you as a fish on here. Watch how they play and learn from them.
Yeah. Well, the thing I found, I got up to sort of 1400, and I found that was nice competitive. And I started picking people up who were getting this 100 ahead of me, who were 1500 plus, and they started doing things. I thought to myself, I'm getting hit loads of times here. It's far more aggressive play, far more punchy, and it really was destabilizing my thoughts in terms of our strategy. And it's given me something to work on. In fact, latter stages of McGreal need to be reconsidered again or relooked at.
Well, absolutely. And when we get back to normal, hopefully take the time to, you know, if ever you see Danny playing or me, watch what we do, and you'll find that Danny and I play far more aggressively, certainly early on in a game, than you might choose to. And ask yourself, well, why are we doing that, and what benefits are we getting from playing aggressive as we battle for the key points around the board?
Yeah.
And the majority of new players play far too cautiously. You play far too cautiously, I can tell you that right now. And if, as you step through this match, I'm sure you will find you've played too cautiously when you should have been a bit gung-ho.
Yeah. I even had someone mention that to me yesterday when they won a game, and they said, "Do you mind?" And I said, "What?" And it's, you know, too cautious. Yeah, it's been said many times.
But it's not unique to you, Nigel. A lot of new players, and certainly until they've really got stuck into a backgammon book that teaches them to take calculated risks, will play cautiously.
Yeah, but I've come up with the big step that I maybe reconsider was leaving a 6 for Ziggy to go for that made him win the match, as opposed to a 1. And I just thought, why? And it's bloody obvious. And I started to read on a few things, so I've cut down hopefully a few things. But I still miss the obvious error because, I don't know, just a bit gung-ho or carefree or just slapdash.
Practice makes perfect, and it's all about building up experience.
Yeah.
So we've talked through what the symbols all mean.
Yeah.
And really you want to focus on the red.
Yes, will do.
And suddenly, if you find that you've eradicated the red, which you won't, I certainly haven't, but it gives you enough. And just by focusing on the red, you can see the common mistakes that you're making time and time again. And once you've made that mistake half a dozen times and XG's punished you for it, hopefully it can sink in and see how you can correct that. You also at the start said, how do you deal with drop-offs? Okay, so if let's say you've got a situation, and let's say this is a game situation, I'm hoping, can you all see my whole browser here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see I've got the tabs open. Okay, so let's say I'm playing somebody and they've dropped off and there's 18 minutes left on the clock, and you think, well, what do I do? Well, just leave that table open. You'll hear if they come back and start playing again, because that's another trick. They go away and come back when they've just got 30 seconds left on the clock. You've sort of given up, and then they make a move, and then you time out. So leave the window open. If you play with sound effects, you'll hear if they make a move. And let's say you want to carry on playing another game. Open a new tab. Okay, you see how I've done that? I've still got your game open here in this tab. Open a new tab. Go to Backgammon Galaxy. I'm logged in.
Yeah.
I've got a new window open. I've still got the match that I was playing here with you, Nigel.
Yes.
So these are all exactly the same steps that we're doing, even if this was a live match. And now just join another game and crack on.
Yeah.
or get on with, dealing with emails and stuff. But if you leave that one open, you'll hear if your opponent comes back and makes another move.
Yeah.
To stop you timing out.
Yeah. Okay.
Some people just do that. Neil, you put your hand up, I think.
No, I did that at the beginning because I was over by trying to get my sound going. I don't know how to turn it off.
Sorry, I've only just seen that.
That's right.
So does that answer your question, how to deal with drop-offs?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand. Well, I think I understand now. I wasn't aware of it. So if you're playing people who are point conscious and numbers, score conscious, they'll mess you around by pretending not to play just to run the clock down.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be various reasons, and the backgammon world isn't a perfect world, and you've got some bad sports out there, and you might get somebody who they might actually just close the game down and said, right, that's it, I'm off, I'm not being lucky today, I'm going to stop playing.
Just in the middle of the game.
Yeah, and then you just have to, make sure it's their clock that times out, not yours.
Right.
I know in the past on other sites, I've not heard of it happening here, but it wouldn't surprise me if somebody does try it. Is you're playing a 7-point match where you start the match at 21 minutes on the casual clock setting, and you've still got 18 minutes left, and that person wanders off. They might come back after 16 minutes and make their move. In the meantime, you've gone off and given up playing them, and then they go ahead and win the match. Well, if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. But you can always deal with that by just making sure you keep that window. It doesn't even have to be open. I mean, that tab open. I can have it here, but I can still hear any sound effects.
Oh, right, so okay. Quite
often,
you're watching your own clock anyway.
Yeah, when I'm playing, when I'm running Backgammon online, I will have along my tabs all along the top. I'll have all the games, all the matches going on, plus my own. But I can hear what's happening in all the other matches. I can think, oh right, that somebody's just queued on that, so I can have a quick look at that, and so I can see the progress. So you can hear what's going on, even if the tab's not open. As long as you have the tab up, it's you'll hear what's going on.
Okay.
Well, is there any when we do the Backgammon on a Wednesday evening? Is it always the case we've got to sort of say, I'll ring up Annie and say, Annie, are you ready to go? I'll create. And then she looks out for me. Or is there any other means by which we can be a little more automated? Or is it that sort of Heath Robinson-esque for the moment because it's a system under development?
That's it for the minute. I mean, unfortunately, they don't have a search function. I mean, there is something else called Backgammon, which a lot of us old timers use, and it's a lot more user-friendly and easier to do than Backgammon, but it's not easy than Galaxy, but it's not easy to get an account on Backgammon. In a perfect world, and I'm now running these 3 nights a week, and the people that know what they're doing, you look at the draw sheet. If it's a Swiss, you'll get an email telling you your match is now ready, and whoever's drawn first should, even without getting on the phone, should just go ahead and create a table. Whoever's name appears first in the draw, that person creates a table, and then that other person knows they've got to look for that table. So actually you can do this, and I've done it many times without requiring a phone call.
So coordinate, create a table, create a match.
Create a game, so just by clicking on this create game thing.
Yep. Okay.
So the first person in the draw should click create game.
Yes, yeah.
And then the second person knows to look for that person in the lobby.
Yeah.
But if one or other doesn't do that job, that's when you've got to pick up the call.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone. But you shouldn't actually need to. I most of the time don't bother. I might, if somebody hasn't created a table, I'll drop them a text saying I'm waiting for you to create a table.
Yeah.
Or I've created the table. Please jump on.
Yeah.
Right. You've got to make sure that you've got the right settings on either a table you've created or a table that you're joining. I know, Neil, you had a problem with that where a player had created a table with a normal time setting, which was naughty of them, but equally, you shouldn't have gone on that table. You should have not clicked.
I just didn't realise. Because
Yeah.
I think that was the first time at the moment, the only time I played it. And it was fun, but it was because when I joined that 10 gun thing, that was about, my second week of even playing on Backgammon Galaxy. And it was so full on and just constant game, which I enjoyed. But certainly when I was playing some better players, my clock was running out often. Oh, plus I've got to, and then I was making crappy moves because I was under pressure, particularly on that game, and I hadn't realised that the setting had been.
Talking about time, I mean, what you should be targeting yourself for. I mean, ordinarily, I would insist that all the matches are played on the normal time setting. But the reason why I allow matches to be played on the casual time setting is to allow for the odd PC crash, etc., for screen freezing. By the way, if your screen freezes with Galaxy, all you got to do is, there's sort of 3 steps you could do. If I'm just going to go in and watch a game here so you can see this. In fact, I'm going to go down because I think I saw a London League match going on here. So we're going to.
Oh, that's what the eye is. You can just go and watch.
You can go in and so I happen to know both these guys. This is a French guy, Eric Mayabou, and this is Andrew Selby. I think they might be playing a London League match, which is something I run, but they don't know you're watching here. But this is the same sort of thing you'd have if you were playing, and whenever you start a game, at the top you've got the backgammongalaxy.com/match/ and then a 7-digit number. Now, if you get locked out of your game, frozen out of your game, there are 2 things you can do. First thing you should do is always copy and paste that URL. Okay, I'm going to copy that. Can you see how I've copied that?
Yeah.
And let's say I'm frozen out. I could just close all this down now, close all this down, close everything on Galaxy. Just open a new tab, right-click that back in, and then I'm back in my game again. It's as simple as that to get back into your.
Just like copying and pasting.
Yeah, I mean, you could just try and refresh the window. I mean, quite often refreshing your window works. If for any reason you can't create a table or your game freezes, you can just go in and refresh the window. But I would always, before you do that, just copy that at least the 7 digits there.
That's why I sometimes get, or have had, things like, are we referring to this, which is sometimes the screen will go into loading or even disconnect.
Yeah.
It's at the instance when I should do what you just suggested.
Yeah, so, or even better than that, so the 7-digit number here, I'm making is 1907 772. Okay, so let's go back into just Galaxy. Get rid of this match and just go back into the lobby. And you could go into any game. So I'm going to go straight into this one. And you've got 2 guys, Aliko playing Iberk. You see they've got a different 7-digit number at the top?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to change that to 1907772. And it takes me back to the match we were watching before. So it's all based around the match number. So the key thing is if you lose your match, don't panic. All you've got to do is know what your 7-digit number is.
Right, but that's when you're referring to the thing goes into disconnect or loading. Is that right?
Yeah, that's if you freeze. If it's your opponent that's frozen.
Yes.
Then you just sit tight.
Yeah. Okay.
But make sure it's your opponent frozen. I did have a situation the other day. Actually, when I was playing in the garden. I think we lost the internet, and I was sitting there for 2 minutes waiting for who I thought my opponent to play, and actually I realised, oh, hang on, it's me, and it's my screen that's frozen. But that's why we have it on casual setting. But coming back to that, let's take this off. It's a bit distracting. You should both be aiming to play, and Nigel, you need to work on this. if you're playing a 7-point match, really you only want to be using up 7 minutes of your 21-minute time bank.
Right.
If you're taking longer than this, you're taking too long.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a situation. I've got a Fulham player who's quite ponderous, and the other day, in a 21-point match, he used 14 minutes of his time bank. Now, in real life, if he'd been playing on a match clock, he would have been timed out because you only get 2 minutes per move per point. So aim to use 1 minute for every point that you're playing. So if you're playing a 5-point match, you get given 15 minutes, but really you only want to be using 5 minutes of that time bank. Because that's the speed that most people are playing at. And if you're not playing at that speed, then you'll find everybody's always waiting for you and they'll all start grumbling and then people start complaining to me or whatever. So if you find you're playing slower than that, speed up.
Okay.
Okay, any more questions?
Yeah,
I think that's fine. I mean, really, the thing to do, as you said, Vicky, is go through and analyse my games. I haven't got that many. Just go through and analyse them and see all the ones where I've done a red error, both cube or checker.
Absolutely. And there is a trick here. When you play, don't get on to Galaxy and play 3 hours of mind-numbing autopilot backgammon. Play a match, go through it. Play a match, go through it. Go through it while it's still fresh in your mind so you can remember what you were thinking when you made that move. Don't play for 3 hours and then go through all 3 hours of matches.
Yes.
Play a match, go through it. Play a match, go through it. And sometimes less is more. I spend more time studying the game than I do actually playing matches. I play very few matches, and it just helps keep you fresh.
Well, question in terms of start off beginner, rookie, intermediate. Is it then advanced, expert, and things like that, and galactic or something?
Something like that, yeah. Again, don't get too wrapped up. You're still in the development phase. So the thing is look for the red. And if you play a match without red, that's great. That's fantastic. It probably means you haven't had a very difficult match and you haven't had too much to think about. If you get a match where there's a lot of red, don't panic. That gives you extra learning opportunities.
Okay. Right, I'm going to log on and go and play.
Right.
Thank you ever so much. That's really appreciated, Dickie. Thank you. And we'll see you on Wednesday.
Before you go, do you want a game?
Yes, all right.
I'll let you guys